We welcome all sinners who are with us today. In this story, there are a great number of things happening. There are many ways to break it open. The place that I want to talk about today is the woman. The woman is not identified here, just as in last week's gospel, the widow of Nain. No name. This woman, all we know about her is that she is a sinner and loved Jesus. She stands at his feet crying. Her tears are washing his feet. She kisses his feet, she anoints them. Now, to stand at the feet of a teacher, a master, is the place of the disciple. It is the place of us. Jesus is the one who teaches us about our Father in heaven. No one goes to the Father except through Jesus, in the place of the disciple. No one knows the Father. No one is able to perceive the Father except through Jesus, because the Father is too much for us to comprehend. There once was a story about a judge. Now, this was years ago, and for some of you who might be too young, this was in Vatican II, prior to Vatican II, when we had altar railings in the front of church. People would come up to receive communion. They would kneel down next to each other and receive communion. The way the story goes is there was a judge in a certain town who had sentenced a criminal to 7 years in prison. After 7 years, the judge was in church, and going up to the communion rail, he noticed kneeling right next to him was this person he had sentenced to prison. It touched him greatly. And afterwards, he stopped and talked to the priest and explained to the priest the grace that he witnessed and wondered if the priest saw it too. And the priest is going, "Oh, yes. It's amazing what God has done for this prisoner, brought him to church. What he had done wrong, he has reformed his life." The judge said, "That's not the grace I was referring to. The grace I was referring to is much different. You see, I grew up in a privileged household. I went to Harvard. I studied law. I knew all things that most people didn't. I saw myself as an example for others. I never saw myself on the level of this man who was next to me until that moment. That is the grace. God gave me the grace to realize that I am an equal sinner in the eyes of God." That is the grace that touched the judge, and that is the grace that we are called to be touched by. St. Ambrose tells us that the woman, unidentified, is actually the church. That woman is us as a church. We are to be at the feet of Jesus, ministering to him, caressing him, with our tears, washing his feet. Our tears for our own sinfulness, our tears for the pain and suffering of others and the sin that is going on in our society today. We are all called to that place of discipleship. We are all called to that place at Jesus' feet if we are to be his disciples. We are called to wash his feet. We are called by our tears to pray for those who need it. Now, we don't have to look far today to find those people who need our prayers today. There are many people. We can start with the unborn, those children who may never see the light of day. Who is praying for them? We need to be there interceding for them. What about the people in Syria who are suffering greatly at the hands of war. We are called to intercede for them. We cannot sit back and just say, it's a tragedy, it's bad. We are called to be in that place of prayer. We are called to be at the Master's feet, pleading with our tears for the pain and suffering going on in our world today. We cannot divorce ourselves from it. We are part of it. We are part of the solution. But that solution is at the feet of Jesus, through our prayers, through our tears. We cry out for those whose voice is no longer heard. We are all called to this as disciples.